golden, brown, delicious. Ever since we humans first started cooking our food over flames, we've been craving that GBD goodness. Over time, we've honed our skills through trial and error. But if you actually understand what's going on in there, you can hack it for the tastiest, toastiest food. This is Minute Food. If you know even just a little bit about cooking or chemistry, you probably have a vague sense that this is behind that GBD-liciousness. I had to spend some time researching how to pronounce it since it's one of those things I read but never say out loud. And either Maillard or Maillard are probably fine. Definitely not Mallard. But what the duck is the Maillard reaction? The first thing to know is it's not actually a reaction. It's a giant, messy domino effect of lots and lots of reactions. So messy that the exact details are still kind of a black box. But basically, it starts with what's called a reducing sugar. Note that these are not the giant molecules we usually think of as sugars. They're simpler, more reactive sugars found in all living things. Anyway, the reaction kicks off when a specific piece of one of these sugars reacts with a specific piece of an amino acid, the building blocks of proteins. The product rearranges and breaks down into smaller molecules, which start reacting with each other and forming all sorts of different products, which start reacting with each other and forming all sorts of different products, which start reacting with each other and you get it. Eventually, you end up with hundreds of different compounds. Some are giant ring-like molecules that, for complicated chemistry reasons, reflect light in a way that makes food look brown. That's where the golden brown comes from. Others are small, super volatile molecules that create complex flavors and aromas. That's where the delicious comes from. But this is where things get kind of confusing, because there are also other reactions that create flavor and darken foods, like caramelization, a simpler reaction that involves just sugars and heat, and dextrinization, where heat breaks down big starches into smaller, browner ones. These are all distinctive chemical reactions, but more than one can be happening in a given food at a given time. And since the basic Maillard reactants are ubiquitous in living things, and therefore super widespread in food, if you are seeing noticeable browning in something you're cooking at a relatively high heat, at least some Maillarding is probably happening. This darkening domino effect is everywhere, even outside the kitchen. It's what's behind self-tanners, certain types of cataracts, preserved paleo poop, and perhaps even the distinctive hue of bog bodies. On second thought, let's get back to the much tastier chemistry that happens in the kitchen, because you can actually hack it for even more tastiness. See, there are two conditions that matter most for the Maillard reaction. The first is heat. The reaction can and does happen at room temperature. That's one part of how aged balsamic vinegar, black garlic, and serrano ham get their color and complexity. But it takes months or even years. The higher the temperature, the faster that delicious domino effect happens. That's why we're most familiar with the GBD of foods cooked at high temps, like bread, cookies, roasted coffee beans, French fries, grilled meat, grilled veggies, grilled almost anything, really. So if you want more Maillard, the easiest thing to do is turn up the heat. Temperature really matters when you're cooking something wet, like meat, because even if you're cooking at a hot enough temperature for the reaction to occur, the moisture on a food's surface can keep it from getting hot enough to undergo that delicious domino effect before the food overcooks. By drying the surface, you can reach those higher temps way more quickly. So pat proteins dry before popping them in the pan. And leave cut veggies in the fridge to dehydrate for a few hours before roasting them. And mind how you use salt. Either add it just before cooking or far enough in advance so the moisture it draws out has time to get drawn back into the food. The second condition that really matters for Maillarding is pH. The higher the pH, the faster the Maillard reaction will happen. The chemistry is complicated. But basically, a basic environment makes the reactive parts of amino acids even more reactive, kickstarting the domino effect. You may already have a sense of this if you're a bread lover. Since sourdough has a relatively low pH, it often doesn't brown as well as less sourdoughs. If you want to maximize your Maillarding, raise the pH. Boil your bagels in a baking soda solution. Dip your pretzels in lye. Rub chicken wings with a touch of baking powder. A final way to get major Maillard? Add more of those basic reactants to get the domino effect going. Generally, anything that contains proteins and simple sugars will do the trick. A milk or egg wash, a bit of butter, or some mayo. And here's the thing. Tweaking these initial conditions, the reactants, the pH, and the temperature, doesn't just change how fast the Maillard reaction happens. It also affects how the domino effect itself proceeds and what exact mix of molecules you end up with. One note of caution. Some of the molecules you can end up with can be harmful in large amounts. But as long as you aren't Maillarding every single thing you eat to oblivion, you really shouldn't have to worry. So go forth with your new knowledge and Maillard wisely.
Want a handy, beautiful, digital and printable guide to the Maillard reaction? I know just the place. Our brand new Minute Food community at patreon.com/minutefood. Our patrons get exclusive access to gorgeous guides from our episodes, as well as behind-the-scenes videos, early access to our content, on-screen recognition, discounts on Minute brand merch, and all sorts of other fun, exclusive stuff. I have loved interacting with those of you that have already joined us, and I'm so grateful for this community because every patron support helps Minute Food become bigger, better, and more sustainable. So go check out what we're cooking up over at patreon.com/minutefood. It's ducking awesome.